Whether Edward Bernays was the father of public relations or simply near the delivery room when the practice was born, he deserves a lot of credit for defining it as more than publicity, and some of the blame for how it is sometimes practiced. Crystallizing Public Opinion has been in print for a century in which the practice of public relations changed dramatically, and a century in which it stubbornly stayed the same.
I was really kind of amazed how accurate and how predictive it was. All of the premises and theories and conjecture and information in it is really just as relevant now.
I would love to be able to say that that's what public relations professionals do. And I really like to think that public relations leaders do that. But probably for the most part, there are a lot of public relations people who are just doing whatever the client wants, doing it creatively, doing it well, but they're just doing what the client wants.
Public relations as a profession is just emerging from a kind of gawky adolescence and just starting its pathway into adulthood. I think it was at the embryonic stage, when Ed Bernays wrote Crystallizing Public Opinion. So I think he had great foresight.
The best counselors today, they're trying to help their organizations make better decisions by being better informed about what's going on in the world and by being the representative, the advocate for the people who aren't in the room.
Well, social media definitely is one of the major inventions in the past century, and that's very different from 100 years ago. It has not only influenced public opinion, but also how we understand public opinion.
I think there's no question that the mainstream media has less influence today. We're self-selecting the news we get, and subsequently, we're not getting the bigger picture anymore.
Bernays had a certain privilege that I, as an African-American practitioner, did not have. I think that what we have to be able to do is continue to evolve and continue to learn. We have to break down the silos that might exist.
The biggest surprise to me was the final section on ethics. It doesn't really talk about the ethical issues facing the PR counselor to any great degree. I mean, issues like being transparent about who's funding PR campaigns.
Well, I don't think it was transparent at all. I think it was, quite opaque. And I think in a democracy, I think transparency, and certainly in the public relations world in terms of, ethics, you have to be transparent. And I don't think he was.
Thinking that the client's aspiration is in the public interest is a conflict, is an ethical conflict that exists today. That's a difficult thing to discern. Is the client really advocating for something that is for the betterment of society? And what does that really mean?
He talks of the special pleader as a person who advocates for the interests of the client in the court of the public opinion, as somebody who works primarily in the interest of the client. He does not work in the interest of the public. He's not interested in the overall justice. He is more interested in molding, as Bernays says, public opinion in order to promote a positive image of the client.
We have an obligation to be careful about what we're putting out there. It's important, if we're going to be advisors and counselors, that we know what we're talking about and really try to be agnostic and figure out what's really going on here, what's really the facts, because all we have, I believe, is our integrity.
Public and social influencers now don't have to be human in the burgeoning age of artificial intelligence. What should our relationship be with these non-human entities? When they came out with the digital calculator, we still had to learn long division. right? But you would be beat in a math contest by people who knew how to use a calculator. Right now with artificial intelligence, I think the same is true, but the difference is that a calculator doesn't get better at its functions the more you apply it.
The key function of public relations has evolved. Back then, that's more about one-way communication, influencing or changing public opinion. But these days, we focus more on two-way communication, fostering conversations, dialogue, and building relationships with different stakeholders and with the publics. I would be interested to know how Bernays think about this approach.
I would have to ask Bernays, what's the solution here? How do we change that? How do we separate fact from fiction and agendas from reality? How do we move forward from this saturation of media that is, in fact, influencing the way people think to the point where they're not really thinking based on facts?
I would ask him whether he feels at least a little bit responsible for what's going on in the realm of misinformation today.